Hey everyone, Lynn Adams here. Welcome to another edition of In Her Shoes. Today we are talking about femininity in society. Femininity is your superpower. I'm going to be bringing on an amazing guest. She is all about femininity in society. Femininity is your superpower. And I'm really excited to bring her on. So let me find her. Hold on for a second. Make sure the phone doesn't. Okay. Deidre?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I
Hi.
can hear you. How are you? I'm just making sure my phone doesn't flip over because it's like,
Oh, no.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. I'm doing so good. And I am so excited to have you. Everyone, this is Deidre Ritter. She is a homemaker, a content creator. And, we had a really powerful conversation.
We did.
All about your journey. And I want you to tell people about your journey. But more importantly, I want to talk about femininity in society. And I love, on your profile, you say femininity is a superpower. So I want to talk about that because I think it's super important now more than ever today. I know a lot of women are activating and have been playing in the masculine role.
Yes.
And now it's like, let's bring back the feminine because there's so much power in the feminine.
Exactly.
And I want to talk about that. Yeah.
Exactly.
So why don't you tell everyone watching the replay live, who you are, about your journey, just so they get to know you.
Oh, so hi. Thanks for having me, by the way. You look so good. Okay, I'm Deidre. I am a homemaker. That's the easiest way to put it. I'm extremely nurturing and I have general love for everything that exists. Literally, that's all I can think of about myself. But in short, I've always been this way, at my heart. Since I was a little girl, I've always just been extremely nurturing and very sensitive and just in love with life. And over time, as I started to kind of grow up, I started to feel like that wasn't valuable. And so my goal has always been, how do I make sure that I'm contributing to the world in the way that I'm supposed to? You know what I mean? I got to get a great job. I got to make a certain amount of money. I have to be super successful, right? I got to go to college. I got to get all these degrees. And I thought that being successful meant being at the top wherever I was. And I'm naturally a leader. Let's be clear. I'm a natural leader, and you don't have to be a masculine at all to be a leader. Both feminine and masculine people are leaders. But I spent the first half of my life just feeling like in order to be respected, I had to gain a certain level of success outside of where I live. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so I just felt like, okay, liking to cook and all this stuff, that's cool, but that's not enough. I got to do more. I got to go dominate whatever industry I'm in. And I worked in the travel industry and I loved it because I still got to be hospitable to a degree. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I get to do what I'm good at and still make a good amount of money and still lead and still take charge. But I realized I was not enjoying it. And I was to an extent, and I started to realize that everything about me was being measured by outside factors. What I'm being told I should enjoy. When really I feel most fulfilled when I'm hanging out with my son. I feel most fulfilled when my son learns an important life lesson. I literally get this warm, fuzzy feeling inside when my son just makes this realization, and he's only 6, right? So I'm sitting at my job, my corporate job, just doing my thing, being great at it because I'm good at anything I touch, really and truly, but I'm not feeling fulfilled. And I'm making these strides, and then I'm hitting this wall, and I keep getting hit with no's for the first time in my life. And I'm like, all right, listen, if I get hit with one more no, I'll take the message, universe, and I'll leave, right? And sure enough, there's a big breakdown, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to leave. And I'm just going to go find another job because I'm very employable. I took pride on my resume and the fact that I'm employable. And just that, if I go in a job interview, the job is mine. That's always been my life. But in that transition period after leaving work, I'm like, let me just take a month off, stay at home, hang out with Dylan until I'm ready to go back to work. And during that time, I'm realizing this is what I'm enjoying. I'm enjoying the look on my son's face when he's getting the dinner he enjoys. I'm realizing that my son learns things from me that he's not going to learn outside. He's like, even in the way he's playing with his friends, in the way that he takes leadership, I'm realizing like, this kid is really special, and something that he just taught to his friends is something that seems so small to me, but he's taking important factors in socialization and just kindness, and he's spreading that just among his little friends. And I'm like, wow, like, I'm really enjoying this, you know, like, I'm really enjoying this. And I started to, you know, I went through like this whole spiritual awakening, and I went through a process of learning myself, because I started to realize that the time that I was spending striving for outward success, I didn't know myself the way I thought I did. And I started to have these memories of all the things that I enjoyed when I was little. And I just kind of started using all the things that I enjoyed as a child to help me rediscover myself. And it was beautiful. And I'm like, wait a minute. This is what's missing in the world. Enjoying the journey, enjoying the little things in life, stopping to smell the flowers. Those things are missing, and it has to be restored. And I'm like, okay, excuse me, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to focus myself on, of course, me, but I'm also going to focus on helping people to tap into their own femininity, and not just women, but everyone, because there is balance that has to exist. We all have to have a certain balance between our masculine and feminine energy. And I can confidently say I've been operating out of masculine energy for a very long time, and it didn't quite work out for me. So,
yeah. So I love that you brought up so many good points. Like, you know, you were everything external, right? You were kind of validating yourself and trying to fit into this box, and you did it really well. Like, it's not like, oh, you failed at it. You did it really well. And I would love to talk about more, because we are seeing, you know, the world has shifted. We are slowing down. There's people that want to get, quote unquote, back to normal and live the normal life. And normal, in a sense, wasn't working, right?
Yeah.
So I would love to hear your perspective on like the feminine energy, because it's in, right, both male and female bodies. It's not just women we're talking about.
Right. It's not exclusive to your sex at all.
No. So how did you, because you said like when you were going through this spiritual awakening, like what made you kind of slow down and take inventory? Like, was it that you were burnt out, or like, I mean, it was definitely your son was a motivation, but like for people that maybe are like, I don't know what to do. Like, it's, you know, like, can you give us any kind of tips that would be helpful?
Well, obviously not everybody's in a position to take a year off of work, because that month turned into a solid year. Like, actually tomorrow is the 1 year anniversary of the day I quit my job. When I was
wow.
Literally, it was so like, it was not planned, and I'm a planner, okay? But you know, I just was like, yeah, I'm not a good fit for this place anymore. I gotta go. But not everybody's equipped to do that. Like, not everybody's in a position to just take a year off of work. So to start, for one, sleep. Like, really and truly sleep. And not sleep so you can get up in time for work, but just sleep. Like, we don't realize the value in rest. Rest in itself is healing. So making time to rest, prioritizing your rest, and prioritizing taking overall care of yourself. Because we really we don't prioritize self-care in the way that we should. And we have this idea that self-care is taking a bubble bath and getting a massage. And no, self-care is thinking about what you need, sitting with your feelings when you're having feelings, getting in touch with your feelings, for crying out loud. Because I was emotionally detached for most of my life. And for one, I was fortunate enough to spend a lot of time in therapy, and I know not many people have access to therapy either. So for one, when you have feelings that you're not quite comfortable with and you don't quite understand, try to figure out, what's the cause of these feelings? Why am I feeling sad? And I just did that for the first time the other day. Like, I literally went through the process of my feelings of, I'm feeling really sad, but I was feeling guilty for feeling sad. We got to stop feeling guilty for what we need. So we feel sad, we automatically tell ourselves, where there's people starving in the world. This is true, but that doesn't take away from the fact that in this moment you're feeling a little sad. So if you're feeling a little sad or you're not feeling well, you sit with yourself and try to figure out why. And even if you can't figure out why in that moment, give yourself the space to just be. And don't indulge, don't spend, the rest of your life just wallowing in self-pity, but give yourself the room to figure out, to feel what's happening in the moment. We're not living in the moment. We're so focused on attaining things and measurable outcomes. And we're not just taking the time to figure out what's happening right here in this moment. So if you just come to this realization of, I am genuinely not happy, nothing I'm doing is making me happy. A good starting point would be to think about, when you do feel happy, what were you doing the last time you felt happy? That's something that I had to do. Okay, I don't feel so great right now, but when was the last time I felt great? And if I can't think of the last time I felt great, then I need to now prioritize feeling great. And sure, that's a goal, but that's a healthy goal. Our goals shouldn't only be based on material things. We have to take care of ourselves so that we can live longer lives. And I think a good starting point would just be to figure out how we're feeling in the moment. And if we don't like that feeling, try to get to the bottom of the cause of that feeling.
Yeah. So important. This is also important because everyone has been running like this rat race, right? And even now, like with everything going on in the world, it's like people, what I'm hearing you say is like, give yourself permission to feel.
Yeah.
Give yourself permission to like find the happiness. Like, I'm crying out loud. Like you said, like, where's the happiness?
Where's the happiness? And sometimes it's as simple as noticing a flower. Like the other day, about a couple weeks ago, I had a doctor's appointment, but I went on the wrong day. Like my appointment was like on Wednesday and I went on like Tuesday. And normally I would have beat myself up over it because I would have seen that as a huge waste of my time. Like I literally, a year ago, if I spent time preparing for an appointment and I show up and find out that the appointment was the following day, my initial response would be to be disappointed in myself because I just wasted 2 hours of getting ready and getting there and then finding out. And my first thought would be, look, I could have done XYZ with that time. So instead I just said, okay, at least I got to walk through the park on the way here. And sometimes that's what's missing, is rather than thinking about what we can do with our time, we just think about, what am I doing with my time? How am I making time to enjoy the life that I have? The world is huge and abundant, and let's just enjoy the world that we're in. And if we're not loving the world that we're in, then what can I do to get to a place of loving the world that I'm in?
Yes, because we always have choice, right?
Yeah, we do. We have choice. We can create the life that we want. You know what I mean? There was a point in my life where I was miserable. And just the other day I saw something and it absolutely resonated. It said, look at your surroundings, look at yourself, look at what you're doing. That was once a wish that you had. And I stopped and I was like, this is true. This is absolutely true. Sometimes we don't just stop to think about what's happening in the moment and just savor it. We have got to savor what's going on in the world right now. And right now things are rough. I get it. It's absolutely rough. But sometimes it's the smaller things. Sometimes just reminding yourself of a small little nugget can help.
Yeah, and it's like the miracle, like in the present moment. Like that's what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah.
What would you say, like, well, let me ask you this, because this is my belief, but I think there is such huge power in like play and just like having fun and being in the feminine. And so talk to me about that, because I know every time I like slow down or like you said, enjoy the present moment, like unexpected miracles occur, money comes in.
Yes.
Like, you're like, what is going on? Like, so
it's
talk
true.
to me more about like your experience and like your belief around that.
You know what? I definitely agree with you there. Just be more playful, right? But I was talking to somebody the other day and she said, when you're walking in your purpose, money comes. And I was like, oh, shoot. That's true. But of course, not everybody knows their purpose. So that's another topic for another day. But for me, I do sometimes just find myself like, let me just have a good time. Let me just laugh a little, you know? What is it going to take? And sometimes it's just any old little thing. But for me, sometimes I just like to watch Dylan. I just listen to Dylan talk to his friends. That's funny for me because 6-year-olds are very entertaining.
Yeah.
But I do absolutely believe in just being playful and enjoying life and just finding the pleasures in life. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's sitting on my porch and listening to my neighbors interact because they can be entertaining. You know what I mean? But I absolutely agree that just being playful is just being able to laugh feels really good. Just being able to laugh feels good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing to create, like, in your world?
Oh my gosh. See, here's the thing. I dabble in everything, right? So for me, number one is sanctuary. Like on a grand scale, it's sanctuary. It's very important to me that there's peace wherever I am. Because no matter, I want to feel at home, and feeling at home isn't like your surrounding area. It's just me. I want to feel comfortable. I want to feel safe. I want to feel okay. And so I make sure that I don't see the bad or the potentially dark outcomes in things, you know? Mm-hmm. I look for whatever I can appreciate in any situation. So for one, I like to create sanctuary, but on a more hands-on level, honestly, anything. Like, I just like to turn nothing into something. It just comes naturally to me. I enjoy it.
I love that. So let's talk about sanctuary, because I love that. It's kind of like, I love that word, and I love the word like devotion. I don't know, it just like does something for me.
Yeah.
If people, because it's real, right? Like people are struggling with money, people are struggling with, you know, ill parents or family members or friends. You know, some of the medical workers are working really hard. How can they create like sanctuary in their own life? And I think, you know, you answered a little bit, but in those moments of when you were really stressed out or when something doesn't go quote unquote your way, what would you say to them? Like, how can they create either sanctuary in the moment or in the environment, like in any way? What would you say?
Oh man, that's a good question. I can, at the very least, speaking for myself, when I'm creating sanctuary for myself, I remind myself that my life is mine and nobody else's. And even when things are really scary and tough, I think about what I need to do or what I can do to get out of anything. You know what I mean? Rather than sitting in fear or anything like that, I just remind myself that this is my life. This is my life. So if anything is making me feel uncomfortable, then that means I'm making myself feel uncomfortable. I'm letting something outside of me and my being control me. And so I just kind of, I talk myself up, you know, I'm like, bitch, you better do it. This is your life. Do what you want to do, you know? So that's how I create sanctuary for myself. You know what I mean? I think that's what everybody should be doing. Take control of you. Your life is yours. Yeah. You know what? Growing up was crap. You know what I mean? And I promise I can relate to it. Growing up was crap. Some of the people were awful, but I'm not there anymore. I'm not a kid anymore that was being yelled at. I'm not a kid anymore who doesn't have a say. I'm not a kid anymore who doesn't get to have a choice or no. I am here. I'm in charge now. My body is mine. My life is mine. I get to decide what my life is going to be. So that's just the way I do it. And for me, I feel at peace all the time because my life is mine.
Yeah, I love that. And what I'm hearing is like, you're taking back your power. You're taking back your energy. Like you're in control, like at every moment.
Yeah, always.
I love that. What has been, I guess, the most fulfilling for you? Like, I know it's like spending time like with your son, but anything else that like really brings you joy, or when you like sit into the feminine, like, can you describe that feeling too for people that have no clue?
Right. So for me, it's knowing exactly who I am, what I love, what makes me feel good. Being able to even know that is a huge accomplishment. Because a lot of the time we think we know what we want. We think we know what we are. We don't. I spent a lot of my time in my adulthood wanting a specific type of life. And as I was living that life, I was realizing this is not what I've wanted. This is what I thought I wanted based on what was told to me growing up. I came to a realization of you're living the life you were told you should live because of who you are or because of where you came from. And so for me, that's number one, is just being able to say, like, I know what I like. I know what I enjoy. You know what I mean? And it takes a while to figure that out. Like, I didn't just wake up one day and know all these things. It took time. It was a process. And you know what helped me get to that point of knowing myself, knowing what I love? I went back to when I was a child. Even my beliefs, I went back to some of my favorite things to do in childhood, some of my favorite stories. Something as simple as, if you think of your favorite story that was read to you in childhood, if there's one story you can think of that you absolutely loved, and you think about the reason why you love that story, that right there is something you can learn about yourself. My favorite story when I was little, you know that story about the hen who was like making a loaf of bread? Yeah. And she was trying to get everybody to help her, but nobody wanted to help. And then by the end, she just ate it all because she was the only one to make it. That was my favorite story as a kid. Wow. And a big part of that is because I'm a giver. I like to help. I like to make things, for everybody. But then if I need help and I'm not getting the help, then I get to revel in, hey, you didn't help me with that. You know what I mean? And a big part of that was because since I was very little, I gave too much and I didn't get enough in return. And so I had a problem, not so much a problem, but I didn't demand reciprocity in my life. And now that's something that's a requirement of mine. You know what I mean? And I know that as a child, I like that story because me and my friends used to have those issues of me being willing to do the work and everybody reaping the benefits. And so as a child, that story resonated with me. And as an adult, I thought back and I'm like, oh shit, that's the life I'm living right now. I'm giving, and I'm not receiving. So Deidre, what are you going to do so you can start receiving? You know what I mean? Sometimes it's something as simple as that.
I love that. Like, you literally made meaning out of a story, like a childhood story that was like, holy heck, I'm like living it right now.
That's what happened. And that was the process for me. The last year was me feeling a little lost and trying to get to the bottom of who I am. And I said, okay, think of the things that you do know. At 4 years old, you remember this story resonating. You remember this. And I remember vividly why that story meant so much to me. And I compared it to my current life. And I was like, well, damn, this is my current life. So how am I going to change that so I don't feel like I'm being taken advantage of?
Yeah.
And now I know how to ask for help. Now I know who to ask for help. Because asking for help is one thing, but being able to actually get the help is another. So now I know who to ask for help and who not to ask for help. I know who gets to sit at my table and who doesn't get to sit at my table. That doesn't mean that I don't love everyone equally. It just means that I know who gets to be in my life so that I can be comfortable.
I love that. And you bring up, like, I'm hearing like boundaries, like setting boundaries. Yeah. And then also it's like you're deciding, like, it's again, you're taking back your power and you're deciding like who gets my peace. Like, you're protecting your peace in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's mine, and I can't rely on anyone to provide that for me. You know what I mean? It's mine.
How can we receive more? Because I think you brought up a good point. Like, a lot of people have a problem asking, and then a lot of people also have a problem like receiving. So what helps you to like just say, I'm going to receive this, I'm going to receive more?
Yeah. Whew, listen, this is something that I recently learned. Okay. But I use mantras for sure. Mantras helped me a lot, especially for one, I did a lot of reflecting and realizing that I deserve. And that's the bottom line, because I do deserve. You know what I mean? I know who I am. I am a giver. I'm always going to give. And just as much as I'm willing to give, I deserve to receive. So I had to tell myself, Deidre, you deserve to receive. You deserve to receive. Like, I had to say that to myself until I believed it. And also I had to surround myself with people that just openly gave. You know what I mean? That's another thing. It's easier to receive if you're around other givers. You know what I mean? If you're only around takers and you're giving, you're going to become depleted. You're going to take a nap, you're going to recharge, and then you're going to keep giving. But then if you align yourself with other givers and you give to each other, it becomes easier and easier to receive.
Yeah. It's, you know, a lot of people, right? Like it's because we're so giving, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like, well, damn, like I need to receive. I know I had a problem too with it, like receiving even more. And like when we receive even more, it's like it opens the container and the floodgates. So you repeated like affirmations or mantras and you like really got in your...
And you know, a big part of why we have a hard time receiving is because of guilt. We feel like we don't deserve to receive. We feel like we're getting in people's way. We feel like we're a burden. And we have to tell ourselves, I'm not a burden. If I'm not a burden, I deserve to receive. You know what I mean? Like you have to really think about, why do I feel guilty receiving? And sometimes it's our programming. Sometimes it's subconscious. Sometimes we weren't given enough as children. Sometimes we were made to feel like we were getting in the way of the people who were raising us. And we carry that for our entire lives, thinking that I'm a burden, so let me just get the bare minimum. Let me give as much as I can. A lot of the time, I'm a recovering people pleaser, okay? I am like a huge recovering people pleaser. And a big part of it is because I was raised around a bunch of narcissists. You know, I love them dearly, but realistically, I felt like I was in the way all the time in childhood. And I held on to that for so long. And I had to let go of that in order to receive. Sometimes you have to release certain burdens. A lot of the times we hear, oh, you have to release in order to receive. And we think it means just donating to charity. No, it means releasing to what you're holding on to that makes you feel like you don't deserve to receive. And a lot of the time it's just guilt. And you have to question, why do I feel guilty for receiving? And when you get to the bottom of that.
I love that. I love that because it's like more self-reflection. And that's what I'm hearing you say. And more like it's your own internal, like what you're carrying. And you're like, to be honest, you're breaking like generational trauma and like ancestral trauma.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. I'm very aware of that. And it's a lot of work.
Yeah. And you're paving the way like for your son and for like future generations. So like any kind of like small tips on how, like, is it just the affirmations? Was it like, how long did it take you? I know you're still in the process, but like, what can you tell people? Like, how can they even just start or continue?
I think it's easy when you start with receiving compliments, to be honest. I know that sounds so shallow, but even me, like the minute someone compliments me, I'm quick to return the compliment or, you know, shy away from it. So maybe start by receiving compliments. When somebody tells you you look beautiful, you just say thank you and let them, because they're not going to say it if they don't mean it. You know what I mean? So you receive that. And when somebody offers to help you, accept that help. If somebody sees that you're carrying too many bags and says, can I help you? They're offering to help because they can see that you need the help. So let them help you because they want to help for a reason. You deserve the help. So you just accept it. And you're going to help somebody else, because I'm sure if you see somebody struggling, you're going to offer to help. So when somebody sees that you're struggling and they offer to help, accept the help. And the better you get at accepting what people offer you, the better you're going to get at requesting help when it's needed. Because that's where I'm at. I'm in that space of requesting help. You know what I mean? Before, somebody offered me something and I just felt like I didn't, no, I'm good. No, thank you.
Yeah.
And then I had to say, Deidre, you deserve help. People offer to help you because they want to help you. So now if somebody offers help, you know, it was easier for me to accept specific help. Now if someone's like, if you need help with anything, let me know. And I make a mental note. And I'm now in the process of, okay, Deidre, reach out to such and such for help on this thing, you know?
Yeah. And I love that, like, just with the compliments, because how many of us, right? Oh, you look good, or oh, that looks good on you. And you're like, it's just like, oh, yeah, thanks. And we brush it off.
We brush it off.
Brush it off. And you're like, yeah, like, because part of it is like, is it make you feel uncomfortable? Like, how can you, like, how much more can you receive? It's so true.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it can be uncomfortable, you know, being complimented. Sometimes you feel like you're put on the spot. For me, sometimes what helps when I feel uncomfortable is I return a compliment as well, just to kind of take all the attention. Like, I'm like, no, I don't, you know, I offer one in return, but I think it's easy to start by accepting what people offer you and then evolve into straight up requesting help. And of course, there's a fine line. You know what I mean? There's a fine line between receiving and straight up taking, you know. But if you struggle with receiving, then you should definitely try to take those steps, because we all deserve, every one of us.
Yeah. Let's talk about people that are in like dramatic or like, you know, just drama filled, like you said, like growing up with narcissists, like people that are in relationships that are not so healthy, or you know, how do you manage your energy, and do you just like eliminate them from your life, or do you slowly kind of let them go? Like I would love to hear your kind of experience on any kind of relationships, really, family, romance, like it can be, but people that are struggling with like drama, and people that are kind of taking them down as they elevate.
Yeah, oh gosh. So that one's so heavy, you know, because again, it goes back to those feelings of guilt, because sometimes you do run into people who feel like you're leaving them behind, right? And they're going to express that. And it's up to you to not internalize it. And that's where it comes back to that strong sense of self. If you've got a strong enough sense of self, then you're aware of what you're really putting out. So if you know for a fact that you are not putting out some sort of negativity or unkind behavior, or just, you know, that kind of energy, and you're being hit with that, then you can accept that maybe this person is really speaking from what they are going through, and you leave it with that and you don't internalize it. But if you feel it, if you notice that every relationship in your life includes some level of drama, right? If it's just one relationship, that's one thing. That might be them.
Yeah.
But if it's multiple, if it's just about everybody in your life, then it's time to say, who's the common denominator here? And what role am I playing in this dynamic? And I had to do that. You know, I've had relationships that were, I hate the T word, but I've been in relationships that were toxic, you know. Yeah. And sometimes we hear of toxicity and we think of explosive arguments and stuff. And sometimes toxicity is just pretending to be nice and giving people whatever you think they need just so you can control them. You know, I've been in toxic relationships that didn't involve fighting and discourse, but it involved men trying to control me in very covert ways. You know what I mean? But you also, which is what I had to do, I had to stop and say, what is it that I'm putting out that's getting me this kind of energy? What is it that I'm telling the universe that I deserve? Why am I getting people who are trying to control me? That's what I had to put out. And then I had to realize, well, shit, if you don't have any control over yourself, of course people are going to try to control you. So strengthen yourself. Get to know yourself. It takes time. It's not an overnight process. But I feel like the answer always goes back to introspection, self-reflection. What do I need to do so that this is not my life?
Yeah.
And then sometimes it's just people just being awful. You know, sometimes you're just surrounded by awful people. And then you also have to ask yourself, what do I deserve? Do I deserve to be in a relationship with somebody who's going to be unkind to me? Or do I deserve to be either alone, taking better care of myself? Because at the end of the day, if I'm going to be I can do that all by myself. And that sounds so like, but it's true. I'd rather be alone than be around somebody that's going to make me feel bad about myself. Yeah. And if I'm willing to accept someone making me feel bad about me, then why is that? Why is that?
Yeah. Yeah. And it goes, like you said, like it's all the inner work. Like all arrows point back to us, like how we're treating ourselves, all of that.
Exactly. So if you treat yourself the way you deserve to be treated, if you treat yourself like the queen that you are, the empress that you are, the goddess, whatever you want to identify as, you treat yourself, you love on yourself the way you want to be loved. And that love is going to come in. I noticed like there's a lot of femininity content on YouTube that is intended to teach women how to be feminine, right? And a lot of it is rooted in like misogyny. It's rooted in sexism, really, and just being a doll for men, really and truly. Yeah. That's just what I see when I see a lot of this content. And I'm like, so we have women who don't feel like they're enough, you know, in touch with their femininity. They're turning to people for help to get a better understanding of what their femininity is, what it is that makes them so special as a woman. And they're being told, wear softer fabrics, wear more pink, you know, do these things, silence yourself. And so some women are realizing that doesn't seem right. And then some are actually doing these things. And then again, you're doing the outside stuff instead of doing what you need to do for you. And a lot of the time, these people are seeking this need to be more feminine so that they can attract a man. And even that's a problem in itself. You know, like, we have to be okay with ourselves. If you want this ideal relationship of bliss and harmony, you have to be the kind of partner that you would want. So if you want this amazing supersonic partner, this unicorn of a partner, then make sure you're being that type of partner, because that person also deserves a unicorn of a partner. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So work on you, prioritize you. Everything you want that partner to do for you, do it for yourself. Love on yourself. Figure out who you are, what you love about yourself. Live in that. Because if you are trying to attract a partner, then you loving yourself that way is going to attract somebody who loves themselves that way. And then you guys just get to make fireworks together all the time. You know? Like,
yeah. I love that. I love it. And, you know, I love that you brought up, like, I see it too. Like, women are trying to fit this box of, like, right, looking a certain way, acting a certain way. And, like, that whole thing is like, oh, am I too much? Or should I call back? Like, all those, like, be too much.
Right. Be whatever you, and that's it right there. Don't worry about what you should be. Worry about what you are. What feels good. If laughing loud feels good, if the joke was good, okay, and you're cackling and you're laughing big, girl, laugh big. Enjoy yourself. This is who you are. Some people have a small laugh. Some people have a big laugh. Whatever laugh you have, it's yours. Live in it. Enjoy. I'm a cackler, okay? I cackle. And I don't change that about myself, because that's who I am. That's who I am.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Like, it's like, be more of you, because it's like that other partner or even like friendship, like that's what it's going to attract, is like your authenticity.
Exactly. If you're true to yourself, you're going to attract somebody. Because trust me, there's something for everybody. Some people like cacklers, okay? Some people like cacklers, okay? So if you're pretending to laugh all quietly and you find somebody who likes a quiet laugher, so random, right? And then one day you happen to cackle and that partner overhears it and they're like, she's a cackler?
Yeah.
Wow, be true to yourself. That way the people who like cacklers are going to come to you. Like, be true to yourself.
Yeah. And that's true in like every aspect, like business, life, like just do you and be you. Like,
exactly.
No hiding.
Exactly.
That's so good. So any last, this has been so powerful. People need to watch the replay. Like I always say, like 7 times, because you're going to get something that you said, which is you hit on so many powerful topics. Any kind of last words of wisdom or tips that you want to leave people with?
You know what? For certain, it's enjoying the journey and not focusing on the outcome. That's a lesson I recently learned. Because I told you I was operating in my masculine for a long time. So I've always been super goal oriented, super focused on the outcome. What is this? What's going to come out, you know? And so recently I was sitting on the beach and I'm like, wow, this is nice, you know? And rather than thinking about how much more time I had, I just enjoyed myself. So and that's for whatever you do. Obviously, we do have to set goals to sustain ourselves. That's a fact. But wherever you can, just enjoy the journey. Just enjoy the journey. That goes for everything. That's the best I got. That's the best I got.
That is so good. That's so good. So where do you want people to find you? Where do you want them to go?
Right here on Instagram, if you search @Finding Deidre. You can also search for me on YouTube. I've got all kinds of fun femininity content on a more spiritual level about, yin and yang. I talk about all 4 of the divine energy types there, and it helps with women who want to be more feminine, but it helps women who don't really possess that level of femininity understand that that masculine energy in you is what makes you special. So you use that, you lead, you dominate, like, you know what I mean? It helps people with getting a better understanding of their energy type so that they can embrace it more, live in it more. So you can just search Finding Deidre on YouTube and you're gonna find all those fun videos. I'm right here on Instagram, and I swear I do everything. My Instagram is just literally my life turned into content. So when I'm cooking, you're gonna find a fun recipe. When Dylan's, talking crap about me, you're gonna find it on my Instagram. It's a fun little community. And of course, I have a blog. You can just go on findingdeidre.com. There's recipes on there. I try to avoid opinion pieces and all that stuff, but just any lifestyle things. I've got a fun series called Make It Mondays where I make something that people would usually be intimidated by cooking. I'm like, girl, y'all can cook, I promise.
Yes.
You can do anything. And I swear, a friend of mine just recently called me a Renaissance woman because I'm building things, I'm cooking, I'm just enjoying life. And so you can just join me for all that stuff on my Instagram.
That is amazing. And so I took so much away, but it's like, just enjoy life because we're not promised, right? Like,
we're not promised. You could die tomorrow. Like, enjoy life. Because if you die right now, you're going to be happy with what you did today. You know what I mean?
Right.
And even that, really learn what you're good at. Because even that sometimes helps you in part of finding your purpose. What am I good at? What do I do that I never fail at? You know what I mean? What do I do that I can do with my eyes closed?
Yeah.
Step into it.
Yes. People, do you know why I brought her on? She's amazing. She's amazing. So go check her out.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time and your energy and just like your wisdom for sharing. I know this is going to benefit so many people because they need to hear it right now. There's so many people, like even in my coaching practice, right, that are stressed, that are, so all of what you said, this whole interview is going to serve so many people. And I just want to thank you for like your love and your time and your energy. And we'll be speaking soon. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Kelly. Have a good night.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.